Copyright disclaimer. Notice, Hunting the Shadows podcast and Hunting the Shadows YouTube channel, Denway Car Productions, may use some copyright materials without specific authorization of the owner, but contents used herein falls under the Fair Use Copyright Disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, research, parody, and conjecture. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute and otherwise might be infringing on non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Furthermore, we would also like to state that the contents and discussion of subject matters opened in this podcast are based in part on theory and conjecture and not necessarily the opinion and viewpoint of the producers and may not be the only answers to the subjects we may examine. Hunting the Shadows. Hello, good people. Come on in and let us gather here together tonight in the grotto for another episode of Hunting the Shadows. I'm your host, Dennis Carroll, and we're going to have a very interesting show for you tonight. Tonight is Werewolf Wednesday, okay? So we're going to be talking werewolf, and I guarantee you, I'm going to tell you some things about the werewolves that you do not know, okay? I guarantee it. So come on in, gather around. It'll be a very interesting show. I'll get my readers on. Hello, Shiro. Good to have you. Millie, Patriotic Yank, David Lester, Anita, Marie, and let's see, we've got Aussie Sue and Gemini Moon, and all right. We're getting a pretty good crowd in tonight. This is going to be an interesting. So you want to just buckle down, listen because it's really good. Let me say that even a man who is pure at heart and says his prayers by night can become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the moon is full and bright. One of my favorite poems. It comes from the old 1941 Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. That is the epitome of werewolf movies, folks, definitely. And I've got his cane right here, just in case. A good silver-headed cane, good weapon against a werewolf. And of course, I'm wearing my silver bullet tonight. And I've got my wolfsbane real close out here. Yes, sir. Don't want to go without that. Without a doubt. And the one thing you got to remember while hunting werewolves, Okay, keep your wits about you. You definitely don't want to lose your head. Okay, don't forget that. All right. Sit back over there, Sam. Okay. So anyway, before I get started tonight, and we get warmed up, I've got a little shout out I want to make to a young lady that's hello, Juno and Melissa. Young lady, Sweet Pea's in the house. Hello, Sweet Pea. Young lady listening out there tonight, Lakin. I just want to say a little shout out to you, Lakin, and I want to thank you for restoring our faith and belief in miracles because you are a miracle, Lakin, and I hope you have a miraculous life. Okay. Okay. Now let's see who else we've got coming in here. All right, I'm checking out the comments tonight. I'm gonna keep an eye on them. Definitely a interesting subject. This is one of my favorites. Definitely is the werewolf. Hey, Scotty B, and without a doubt, one of the most interesting ones because he is basically in his true form a supernatural entity, without a doubt. We got to remember that definitely. I got a couple of announcements to make first before deep into the. I'm going to say that I am still working on getting Graham Phillips, the famous author, on Paranormal Point of View. I had him for a while, but something came up and we had to switch out on that. So maybe I can get up pretty soon. I hope so, because you're going to really enjoy this guy. He is quite a guy, definitely. And all right, moving out. Yes, the werewolf. Okay, we're gonna get deep in lycanthropy tonight. Okay, but I want to say this and about the werewolf thing. You got to remember, okay, it being a supernatural entity, you can't compare it to the dog. Hear a lot about the dog man is the dog man 24/7. Okay, he's the dog man. Although I'm going to tell you tonight about a werewolf, an actual werewolf that once it changes cannot change back ever again. Okay, that's a part of a werewolf curse. But I'm going to talk later. But so the interesting thing about the werewolf is that when he's operating correctly and doing his black magic thing, it could be your Sunday school teacher, it could be your cousin, could be your best friend. You might not even know it because it would hide their secret well. And the werewolf is not the wolf man like Lon Chaney Jr. that we got earlier. That's a different thing altogether. That is a wolf man, not a werewolf per se. A true werewolf runs on four legs. Okay, we got to keep that in mind. We got to forget, hello, Ann. We've got to forget the Hollywood thing, okay, folks? And I'm getting deep into the folklore. I'm going to get into the dark black magic, necromancy, and sorcery that is connected to the true werewolf, okay? Now, there are different types of werewolves, as I said. You've got the wolf man, you've got the werewolf that is a werewolf. Thanks to its lineage, this curse may be passed down from generation to generation. This talent, if you want to call it that, of being able to turn into a wolf, per se. You could turn into a werewolf. Would be a curse in certain ways, definitely. If you had to live that kind of a life, that would be a very bad life, if you think about it, without a doubt. So there are different types of werewolves. Keep that in mind. And the ones that we're going to be basically talking about tonight are the werewolves brought about by the darkest black magic, sorcery, necromancy, and stuff like that. I'm going to talk about that. We're going to get deeper into that. Lycanthropy is a disease, per se, that does this to people. That is what lycanthropy is typed as. A disease or a curse or a condition that turns you into partially of an animal. Here's the interesting thing about the werewolf, and I have to say this. The werewolf is a psychotic killer. It's not. Although it how a woman is the case. He has the mind, the reason of a human being behind his actions. He's incredibly dangerous since an animal. Think about a lion or a bear that has breathing capability. Situation with that. I wouldn't go against the enemy. Interesting attribute of the werewolf. He has the mind of a man working behind this animalistic, bestial nature that has taken over his body or consumed. Incredibly strong animal. You have an incredibly strong being that's supernatural. Okay, we're getting into superhero type stuff here because it would have a very abnormal, very supernatural nature in its strength and its abilities, and it could heal itself very quickly from a wound unless that wound was made by blessed silver. Now you gotta remember, it's not just silver. The silver might would wound it and hurt it because the silver is supposed to be a blessed type of a metal, but it has to have a actual holy blessing upon it to make it more, able to destroy a werewolf. How you do it. That's one of the ways you would definitely go about doing it. And you would actually put down a werewolf very similar to the way you would put down a vampire. Once you do, you do what you do to it, whether you beat it to death with a cane or you shoot it with a bullet, whatever the case is, your job is still not finished. You have to dismember the werewolf. You have to cut it in pieces, and then you must burn it completely and scatter those ashes. Okay, that's the way you get rid of a werewolf. Okay, that's the basic way you do it. Because if you do not do that, it may have the capacity. You can just cut its head off. But here's the interesting thing um, about this: you can cut his head off, but the head could still be reattached if it was not. If it gets into the vicinity of the actual stump and put back on it, it could reform again. You're talking about a supernatural creature in this respect. All the cards are off the table on this, okay? Because anything can happen. John Fortman says lycanthropy is an actual psychiatric diagnosis. It incorporates delusional affiliation with animal and even insect, not just wolves. It could be anything like that. It is an obsession of the mind where you become obsessed with the fact that you have changed your form into whatever other form it may be. It doesn't have to be a wolf. Ed and Lorraine Warren supposedly had a very famous werewolf case where a man was possessed by, and I'm going to getting into that shortly. A man was possessed by a wolf spirit and caused him to think he was actually turning into a werewolf. That is a really bad, severe case of lycanthropy. Now, as a parapsychologist, I find that very interesting because supernatural context with what it does to the so to speak, or the actual psychosis thing going on here with that kind of a thing. Lycanthropy is very interesting in that effect. So yes, it is classified as a disease of the mind, more or less. Yes, there is a spiritual connection to this too, and I will be getting into that shortly, where there are demonic wolf spirits that take over people and turn them into something similar to like a werewolf. Well, we'll be getting into that shortly, but anyway, uh, I hope I'm not having any. Uh, I hope Gino's ever having some audio disruption. Anyone else? Anybody else? Am I sounding okay out there? Let me have a little feedback. Let me know if I'm not. But anyway, we've been having some weird stuff going on with StreamYard lately. I don't know. Sometimes it's perfect. Sometimes it gets real freaky. A little bit of disruption in the feed. A little bit, yes. Okay. We'll see how that works out. Definitely. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so I need to. As well. The werewolves may not be wanting me to talk about this subject. Anyway, we get some weird disruption going on here. Hold on a second, make sure this my Bluetooth is off of some of this here. Sometimes that could be we'll see if that helps any. Okay, but anyway, that move may go. Uh-oh. Oh, well, I hope it comes out all right on that. I hope I took some of the Bluetooth off on one thing and see. Yeah. But anyway, uh, this too as well. So you got to remember there are demonic spirits that are called wolf spirits, like vampire spirits. The whole shell. When you talk about the true werewolf, you got to do history a lot, and the werewolves back to the very beginning of mankind's history, almost. The interesting thing about that is that you go back to the berserkers, the Viking berserkers. They were berserker. I forget exactly what the Viking word was. Skin of wolf were wolf soldiers like that too, and they would put these skins on, and they would have the head of the wolf over their head. They would have the skins on. They essentially became that animal. So there may have been some drug use involved in this, without a doubt. I would not doubt that at all. There was not a they became these animals. And all that. They had the skin and all that. And of course you have the jaguar warriors in South America and Mexico and all that. So this is something that goes concurrently with mankind. Um, yeah, they would immediately it was on their mind. They were like sharks in a feeding frenzy. They could and the werewolves were the worst. And then they were actually uh, guerrilla fighters that were planned by the Nazis to harass. So you had a lot of this stuff going on back in history and all that stuff. Definitely with that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the StreamYard. Definitely, evidently, somebody does subject. Could be the werewolves doing this. Anyway, let me talk a little bit about the sorcery, the black magic part of all this. Okay, and here's some things you might not know. In some parts of necromancy and witchcraft and all this stuff, the cryptid and the thing about the sorcery, there are, I call it dark ladder in witchcraft and necromancy or whatever name, satanic trip. There's the dark ladder of ascension. You go to every rung is another stage that you acquire. Acquire stages in very bad ways. You usually acquire it by murder and the spilling or taking of rituals, blood, letting things that they do. Each rung puts you higher on the scale as you go up, and it gives you more satanic. Okay, and do with these things. So you voices or whatever, certain degrees. The higher the degree, sort of like the Masons, other Masons here. But it's sort of kind of like the Masonic Lodge. There's so many degrees that you can go and all that. That knowledge, you emphasize yourself to turn in things. It can be, and one of these, of course, is the werewolf belt that you get that goes around and all these things. It hooks you up into this dark demonical power that allows you to, and like I say, one of the premier powers of is the ability to just, okay, the demonic is, and if they pass a little bit of this power on to you, then that allows you to be able to shapeshift all this werewolf stuff of the dark magic aspect of it is what this is all connected. Even in certain satanic rites, you can become like a big cat, you know, like a big black panther or a tiger. You can take on that form too. So it's not just the wolf, okay? Although the werewolf is a definite one of them, but you can be like a were tiger or a were panther, black panther like thing or whatever. There are different echelons of this that you can go into. Usually, priest is the one that acquires the ability to turn into a large cat type visage. So it is tied in with demonical power that enables you to shapeshift. And that's part of this thing, and it's part of your power that you get. You are, if you really are determined to become a werewolf, you go through these degrees to get to this amount of power in order to change your shape. There are different rituals, ceremonies involved, and I'm going to get into that tonight, but most of it is the rituals of bloodletting, and like I said, murder, sacrifice, human sacrifice to accomplish these demonic entities. Tell you about the Tashern, okay? This is very interesting, and this kind of gives you a little rundown of what I'm about to tell you is animals. Fast. This was a traumatic out of kick pain that these things were putting out. Okay, this is a terrible thing to think about somebody doing. They would do this to hundreds of cats or other type animals too if they didn't have cats, whatever the case may be. Got knocked completely out that time. I don't know. It's kind of weird, freaky stuff going on tonight. But anyway, with the Tazern, you got much power, pain thing going out. This supposedly, and would put you in a position to get things from them for doing this. Um, so it's just terrible things that they would do. There were other practices very much like the Tazern. They would actually be able, supposedly, to have the power to turn into large black panthers. So called we have some of it could definitely with the dark sorcery being forms along with the as well. Messing with the man's bad souls, and it has a lot to do with the rituals, the letting, the killing, and uh, sacrificing. Anyway, John is an altar practice. It is gross, without a doubt. But some you can do. It's freaky nightmare stuff. So anyway, the whole thing in a nutshell is when you get into the sorcery, you got to remember something. When you practice this black sorcery, the powers that be in the sorcery, they will always seek a reciprocation from you. Well, in other words, whatever you do to get this power, they will ask a price, and it will not just be your soul. It can be a whole lot, even that in aspects. So you got to remember, you pay a price to these things. People around pay a price for that kind of stuff. Um, different types of werewolves. The wolf man who retains the legs and form man. And there's my wolf, by the way. So you have the wolf, and it's more like, and he, but he can be not quite as dangerous as full-blown werewolf, although he. Oh, definitely. I've seen cases where people who are not werewolves do horrific things to other people with just their teeth. You got to remember the human form comes originally without doubt. So, make a long story short, that is what a wolf man looks like. Okay, the actual werewolf runs on four, like a huge. What it really basically would look like a look dire wolf. So you would think that's why. Supernatural power of this entity The werewolf is about and especially not a werewolf. If you escaped a werewolf, you would be one of the most incredibly luckiest people walking around, because a werewolf is psychotic. In fact, by psychotic, I mean it gets in that killer mode. It's going to kill, kill, kill. That's all it wants to do. It will anything. Just about dogs, horses, whatever gets in its way, it's going to take it out. It's a killing machine gone insane. That's all. That's the best way to describe it. You're you might killing and killing. He gets out of pick up themselves as form. I'm I'm doing the Twilight Zone thing. Comments here. Yeah, I imagine werewolves would smell pretty bad. Definitely, folks. We're talking about the scent of a werewolf. Definitely. And the werewolf, you got to remember, will track. It has the very same attributes as a dog. Able to smell, track. Like I say, I would not. It's a very formidable enemy to have coming up against you. Okay, I would want some very, very heavy firepower or something if I was going to town a werewolf. Not just a simple silver bullet. I think I'd want a machine gun full of silver bullets. Just definitely something like that, because you might have a chance then. I don't know. But anyway, I don't think a cane would suffice at that close. At that close. Not hardly. But anyway, getting back to some of this, the necromancy stuff on this. The necromancy, the dark sorcery. It's not just about fooling. Necromancy, by the way, is not just fooling about around with the dead. It can be also trying to divine the future, or even it can be part of like the skinwalker thing. It can be sort of the ritualistic things that you do this, you perform. So the this all is very, very dark, evil, dark black magic stuff that you're talking about. A werewolf. Now, supposedly, if a werewolf bites you, you will have the curse of the werewolf, and that's usually the wolfman thing, kind of a thing. Okay, because you don't turn with a bite like that. You don't usually turn completely into a full-blown werewolf. Okay, in that respect. Um, okay, see what John Fortman's going to say. Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I got the people didn't see it at the beginning. I've got some wolfsbane here. Wolfsbane is actually very poisonous. I would not advise you to handle it. And okay, be very careful with it. Don't put your hands in your mouth when you mess around. It is monk's hood too, is another name for it. It has different names. It is very poisonous. But wolfsbane is supposedly against wolves and vampires both. Uh, do you know where these on change? Well, that's where the guy that actually wrote the Wolfman. I think his name was I can't think of his name. I know it and I can't think of it. A very prolific screenwriter, and he was very good at research. He went to folklore, and the Wolfman is a big part of folklore. The wolf, the werewolf, and all that. But Wolfman will also kill dogs, any kind of canine animals are not good with. Don't ever have wolfsbane around your dogs or your pets because it's very deadly stuff. But it was used to poison wolves. They would put it on meat and kill wolves and all that. Like I say, people were incredibly cruel to animals years ago, and they would use it as a poison in which to kill wolves. And they said, "Well, heck, if it works on wolves, it'll definitely work on werewolves," you know. But the vampire, the vampire, a little vampires are real thing. There's a little bit. There's kind of a rocky road in the folklore on that. We know where the monks hood went with the wolf. Too much the vampire aspect of it. Mostly, if I were going to go up against a vampire, I would use garlic. I'll tell you why they use garlic, by the way, against vampires. I'll give you a little footnote on that. They believe that vampirism was caused by a blood disease, and they felt that the garlic was a very virulent thing against diseases. That's what the doctors, those masks with they stuff garlic and to filter out disease. And they thought for a long time, for many, many centuries, that vampirism was caused by a blood disorder, a blood disease. So they thought that one of the cures or guards against it was garlic. And actually, they did not use. Here's another interesting thing about the garlic. They did not use the sprigs of the bulbs, the cloves of garlic actually that much. They used the flowers more or less, more like the wolf. They used it and the flowers, because of the smell and the scent, and that was supposed to be more stronger actually than the cloves of garlic doing what it did. So there are different ways about it. When you go to folklore, you find out some very strange. If you buy a werewolf back and you steal his power, I would not advise it because if you bite him, he's going to definitely bite you, and his bite would be a whole lot worse than your bite, definitely, without doubt. So anyway, new luncheon movie guys. Let's see. Fox Club 2 is also another name for it. It's got several different names. The flower kind of looks like a hood. The way if you point it a certain way, it looks. It's very kin to the snapdragon family in that respect, but it's very poisonous. This is poisonous as nightshade and belladonna, which were other things they used to kill wolves with too, by the way. Poor wolves never had much of a chance against people. And wolves were not that bad. I know they were bad on livestock, but actually attacking people, they didn't do that much. Wolf's got a bad name. Yeah, these are all sapphire aspects of witchcraft. Very, 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 very careful how you use that. And you better know what you're doing, definitely. It's a blood purifier. That's what they thought they were doing with the garlic. They thought they were keeping their blood pure and they were keeping out the germ and all that. Different remedies, but silver is supposed to be now you got your silver. It's supposed to be a more, what we call a more blessed or holy type of mineral because it comes out of the ground basically pure. But all minerals have to be smelted and have to be fired to take out impurities. Silver is one of the ones that does not have very many impurities in it, like gold. Gold has a lot of impurities in it, you know. That's like that old saying, gold tried by fire. And what that tried means, it removes all the impurities and it comes out pure gold or pure silver. You hear that word, pure, that pure. So that's what it means. It makes it supposed to be more of a holy or venerated type of a metal. But actually, iron is thought to be even deadlier against werewolves and vampires than silver. Okay. But that's supposedly why. Now I don't know. There's a lot of contention in the folklore world about silver bullets actually killing vampires. I don't think that's going to work. Although vampires are repelled supposedly by silver, they don't like to use silver forks or knives, and they don't want to wear silver. It's supposed to be against them as well because they are evil entities. They are supernatural evil entities, and the true werewolf is an evil supernatural entity. It's not good. Okay, you know, but if you're going to take on that pelt or that skin and become that werewolf, you're not using it for. Okay, you're doing it for very dark and nefarious evil purposes, to murder or whatever it is, or cause havoc or whatever the situation. Definitely, silver would be working against you, but iron is supposed to be that way. Evil fairies and stuff like that, and ghosts and all that. Here's the thing about the mirror stuff. Mirror, by the way, yeah. Once upon a time, they did have a silver back, but that one is the to being able to capture flesh. If water would be able to do the same. There's a lot of contention about that with vampires and werewolves too, for that. They are super entities sense, such as if they were in their human phase as a werewolf's act being human again. Look at yourself in the mirror. But when he takes upon himself the attributes of a werewolf, he doesn't have a corporal body per se like a human body. Does he have a mirror? A werewolf would be able to see himself in the mirror. That's an interesting thing. People say yes. There's a lot of contention about that. Same thing with the vampire. Vampire, being a supernatural entity, supposedly does not have a soul. Okay, would he be able to see its true reflection? But here's one thing I can tell you for sure that I know about. Okay, I do know without a doubt that the demonic absolutely hates mirrors. They absolutely hate mirrors. Why? Okay, there's a very, very interesting reason why they hate mirrors. They could see themselves in a mirror, okay, although they are inhuman things here we're talking about. But they would not want to see their true selves, what they really look like in a mirror. They would be horrified. They don't want to see what they would look like, their true form is. And the mirror, supposedly, when it's put before a supernatural being, will actually show that supernatural true form. There's an old superstition that says if you're not sure about your husband or wife or whatever, and you want to say they really are real or there's something else, you could sneak into their bedroom at midnight and hold the mirror up to them while they're sleeping, and you will see their true form in that mirror. Okay, that's supposed to be a test. And there's a lot of tests like that with mirrors. There's a lot of superstition connected to mirrors. Instances, shadow might be the transformation of a vampire turning into whatever it's trying to turn into. Vampires supposedly, and like I say, they're very ethereal type beings, more so than a werewolf, because a werewolf still has a body, it still has claws, and can eat you, destroy you with. You can shoot it and all that, but now the vampire is almost ghost-like in some aspects. It doesn't have a body in some ways. It can into a fog, a bunch of rats, turn into a wolf. It can turn into a bat, whatever the situation is. Supposedly turn into a mist, whatever. Incorporeal body, and it's very ethereal type thing. That's why I would not, I think, be able to see it. It's not really there. It's reality. It's tricky stuff, definitely. I shut up, people. Yeah. Definitely a silver against the werewolf. Supposedly, it's werewolves, vampires, evil fairies, ghosts, supposed to like ghosts, especially malevolent ghosts, supposed to like silver too. Be good to have around. He wants them, I can. All right. Anyway, moving along. The dark sorcery, very steep price, a very bad price when you get moving around. All this stuff will destroy you in one way or another. If you're not caught, it will eventually destroy you. And that's what happens with the werewolf. There's one stage that they turn so many times that they can't turn back to human again. They remain this beast until they're put down or destroyed. Um, they can't go back to the human form again. And so that's part of the problem about. You pay with your hand to become this thing. And little by little, it wears that away. And eventually, you eventually hang your way. The way dark magic eventually works. The more you use it, the more dark swell up like a spiritual cancer. And nothing happens with some of these werewolves. They can't go back to human ever again. It's a very bad situation to be in, definitely. Different aspects of the werewolf. They make a fascinating study. Like the lycanthropy thing, the curse thing, the hereditary being passed down from generation to generation, which is a curse too. Um, the sorcerers that want to become werewolves and other animals. You got some very strange freaks going on. And like I say, when you get to sorcery, and involved with you, uh, being a former enforcement, I this which uh, you see is connected to stuff, okay? It involves okay, the list goes on and on and on. This is dark astral project to animals, but the skinwalker act Okay, I'm back from the twilight zone. So because you do it so many times, it wears away your humanity, and of course, this black magic requires price. The more you do it, the worse it becomes. It's like drugs in that respect. You can start out a rich, uh, pay a price for these things, and the same thing with black, dark sorcery and black magic. You pay a very bad price. And if you turn into a werewolf so many times, supposedly eventually you will not be able to turn back. But now that's different than being cursed. If you have a werewolf curse, that doesn't go that way because you're not dealing with sorcery. You're under a curse, which is a different thing. Okay, in that respect. It was about evil use of astral projection animals, skinwalkers. Yeah. Astral, I caution against, and I've had a lot of people talk about astral projection. Very dangerous stuff. Don't do it. Don't do it because it's not worth the risk. Because you can come back to your body and somebody else is in or something else is in it. You got a bad situation on your hands. Don't do it. It's not worth fooling with. Dark sorcery type stuff you don't want to mess with. Definitely. I caution against. There's some things you don't want to play around with in this world that can really, really badly affect you. If DNA had changed forms of animals back so many times she forgot about the true form look like and always remains some weird chimera thing. They can forget, they can screw up themselves. You go against nature and what do you expect to happen? For your family for that. Is his own. It's very heavy duty, very bad stuff you don't want to get into, definitely without doubt. Okay, we're coming up. Before I probably get knocked off again, I guess I'll start out here. But if anybody got any more questions or anything you want to ask, now is the time to do it. And let's see. I don't know what's wrong with StreamYard tonight. It's kind of doing some weird stuff. Fight on time, folks. But anyway, keep your silver stick, your silver bullets or whatever. Hope you never run into a werewolf because that probably would be the last thing you would ever do. That'd be the last thing that happened to you. He's not gonna cut you a break. He definitely ain't. Have you ever met anyone who claimed to be a werewolf? I have actually run to a couple of wolf spirits that have actually thinking that we're turning into something like this, although it didn't look like it. In their mind, they did. When they looked in the mirror, they thought they could see themselves growing hair and all that stuff. Weird for them. But like you say, that's lycanthropy can be ease of mind as well, a calming situation. But I do without doubt that the thing is out. It can be very bad, evil stuff to get into. It twists your soul up, destroys your whole nature of your being, even if it is a demonical thing that's occurring there. Uh, the whole thing you got to look at is it really worth the price for this? To fool around with. You're playing with fire, and eventually you will get burned badly if you don't watch out. But yes, there have been cases where these wolf spirits, like the vampire spirits. I told about the voodoo case I had where that woman had a vampire spirit put on her. Um, it was sort of feeding off the very essence of her soul. Living astral projection into a werewolf or possessed dead. I have heard of that, but actually, um, you got to remember, and I have to do a show one night again on vampires and talk a little bit more about them because and I'm talking about real vampires, not the people who think they are vampires or want to be vampires. That's what I call vampires. The true vampires are truly just reanimated dead. That's what they basically are. The person that they may look like the person you knew, but that would not be the person you once knew. That is a body as inhabited by demon. The same thing could be with a werewolf. Same thing. And here's another thing we've talked about before. Is it a possibility that Bigfoot and Dogman could be sometimes demonically influenced? Could demons take over these or possess these things? We don't know. That's a big question that a lot of people ask. Some people, definitely my Jones. These things feed on you, not just your blood, but the very life essence of your life, of your body, your psyche. I'm talking about your life force. That if these things feed off of is the werewolf will tear you to pieces. He's not gonna feed off of you. Don't go up to eat you that much, although they have been known to do that. They have been known to feast on people a little bit. But like I said, that bloodlust, they just keep, you might call it a form of feeding. Definitely. Just vampires here. Yeah. There are different types of all these things, and that's where demonology comes into, trying to understand why and how these relate. And of course, that's where metaphysics comes in, trying to how supernatural relates to the and attributes of man. To be Bigfoot, seen Bigfoot, I know it's real. In my own eyes, I was close enough to spit on, we say in this house. Almost, I could go along some sort, definitely unknown or under species of being. But when it comes to look at that, it's why because it has so many demonical attributes. And dogmen, by the way, are described more having the red eyes than the Bigfoot is. Bigfoot more or less has a yellow like eyes. A lot of people describe it that way. Whereas in dogman's a red eyes, that kind of sounds very demonical too. Okay, so I have to say there can be, without a doubt, some kind of a demonic thing going on with this, with the dog man especially. And here's one more thing, and I won't get into that tonight, but there could be a definitely government connection with dog man and with Bigfoot because they know that they exist, and they would definitely, how good they are at weaponizing stuff, definitely be a thing they would be looking into without a doubt. And I won't get into that tonight, but that's another aspect, So you got so many different avenues to go down when you come into subjects like this. It's mind-boggling, but it's very interesting, very interesting. Mexican witches were found dead by dug up graves. They were playing with fire. Oh yeah, I remember that case. Very interesting. I had a lot of necromancy stuff that directly connected with that, without doubt. Necromancy is one of the darkest sorceries of all. Very bad stuff. When you play around with stuff like that, you're not going to have a good end. Yeah, CIA. CIA is deep in the night, John. They're on remote viewers and stuff like that. Oh yeah, they've been in it a long time. I mean, they started back in the 40s and 50s with a lot of this stuff. So the government's been involved in a lot of it. In certain cryptid investigations, I've had government interference. I've been followed by government. I think I've had my phone bugged. I've had and every let me say, hey, we're still here. You know, I get followed around a lot. Yeah, true, Mike. You don't want to play with a lion. You know what the outcome's going to be eventually. I told him. He told me, he said, as much as I love these, I love them like my own children. As much as I love them, I can never, ever trust them. And you can't because they're wild animals no matter what. Yeah, well, bloodless can werewolf goes mad. He becomes the werewolf actually is more he doesn't stop. He's an uncontrollable thing until the probably runs out of energy or whatever the case may be. Yep. So you got a lot of demonic entities, and that's why I keep telling people, and a lot of people accuse me and say, "Oh, Dennis, I saw you talk about demons, all that," but it's been my experience all these many years. You cannot disregard that demonic card. You got to play it on the table because it is involved in a whole lot of stuff more than you will ever believe. It has a hand. The demonic has a hand in a lot of things that go deep into a lot of subjects that we talk about. They're there. You ignore them because it's a very viable answer to some of these things, without a doubt. Well, the black sweet pea, the blackest black, it is an unnatural blackness. It's not a natural, an unnatural thing. The hat man, the different shadow people, they're very unnatural. I have to definitely do a show on them. But next week, I have a very interesting show coming up for you. Okay, next week, since we've talked a little bit about Bigfoot, I'm going to talk about the wild man. Now, I'm not talking about Bigfoot here, okay? I'm talking about the Woodruss, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the Green Man and his connection with Odin and the Vikings. So we're back with Vikings again. I'm going to be talking about the Wild Man, and he is a legend throughout the world, okay? And you find him on the shields, heraldic shields. You find him in a lot of stories. We're going to be talking about it. And I think you'll find it a very interesting show. I'm going to talk to you about that and the Green Man, who is sort of like the God, the father of God of nature, or something like that. You might say. Uh, some people speculate about that next week. So if you want to, interesting night, we'll get together and see what we come up with on it. Okay. Well, I appreciate you tonight. I don't know what's going on lately, but anyway, that's the way it goes. Uh, let's see what I've got here. So I saw two shadow children silhouetted in my bedroom door. I thought it was my youngest. There we go. Very interesting, John Foreman. That's kind of a very well-known demonic trick. A lot of they use that a lot. Sometimes they'll even use the voices of people you know. It's a very demonic trick. They like to do that. It's one of their fun things to do. Absolutely. Yeah, see, it's instruments girl. I mean, the Indian translations for Bigfoot translate the wild man. Yeah. But now the wild man's kind of separate, though. He's not the same as Bigfoot. So that's what we're going to be talking about, definitely. I potentially was sure they wasn't going to treat me. Well, you did the right thing, John. They just was trying to get your attention. You don't give your attention to these things, okay? That's what they want. They want to get your attention. They want to hook. They want to get that rapport going. They want to hook onto you and try to reel you in. Don't give them that satisfaction. The more you feed them with negativity, the more they love it. The stronger they become, and you don't want to. We used to have a saying in uh, in law enforcement. It's bad enough when somebody shoots at you. It's worse when you gave them the. Don't give your enemy these demonic forces ammunition to use against you, and giving them the negativity they want, because that's what they create and exist on. They live with negativity. They feed off of it. Don't feed them, okay? And they will leave you alone most of the time. But if you feed them, the more you feed them, the more persistent they become. Just like a bear out in the wilderness. It's not a good idea to feed them, because then they'll want more food, and you may not have enough. You may have a big problem. And that's the way the demonic. The more attention you give them, the stronger they become against you. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight and for our little discussion on Werewolf Wednesday. Like I said, this week, and I hope you all have a good what's left the rest of the week. Now, there won't be unless something comes up, there will not be a paranormal review on week, but it'll be next Friday. Not this Friday, but a week from this Friday. And we'll see what more interesting things we get into then. And if you like us, share us, subscribe to us, tell your friends about it, pass it around. The more we get, the more feedback, everything. But I appreciate everyone showing up tonight, and we had a more interesting conversation about werewolves, and I hope they don't visit you in your dreams tonight, okay? And so let's see. And speaking of werewolves, there's one very bad looking werewolf right there. Think about that, folks. Look at the muscles on that guy. You would definitely not want to run into something like that in your garage, without a doubt, or in your backyard. Absolutely not. Okay. Well, I appreciate you showing up and joining in the conversation. It's always good to have good conversation with good friends. Okay. And until we get together again, remember to stay safe out there, stay aware, carpe noctem, and embrace the mystery. Hunting the shadows.